Hello everyone, welcome back to Daska Discusses. Yes, I know it's been a long time since my last post, but I'm back and I'm here today to discuss, well, with you, since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has just come out here in Australia, Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. I did want to do like a full-on review of every one of his films that I really love and adore. I ended up doing a Reservoir Dogs one a bit earlier in the year, but well, I can't do that, so I'm going to give you guys my top 5 Quentin Tarantino films of all time that I think are his greatest. Let's do this. With Tarantino having 9 films under his belt that he has got a lot of other shorter ones and being guest director on a few other films as well. I'm just thinking I'm going to go through my 5 favorite Tarantino films. So let's do this. Starting off at number 5, I'm going to go with, well, Django. It's a tie between Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. And you're probably thinking, oh, Daska, you can't do that, it's a tie. Well, look, it is. They're a bit too hard to separate. In other words, look, I reckon I put Django Unchained just in front. What I really like about the film is just, obviously, Christoph Waltz's character is fantastic, and you've got, obviously, Jamie Foxx is fantastic as well as Django. The film, the reason why it's not even higher on this list is because I think it does lull a bit. In the middle of the film, it does tend to drag a bit, and when they finally get to the Candyman's palace or the mansion, whatever, with DiCaprio amps up the acting there, which is fantastic. My favorite scene, I think, is right at the end when Django walks out and there's the They Call Me Trinity theme song that kicks in from an old spaghetti western film that I used to watch as a kid. I really like that. Apart from that, look, I reckon Django definitely deserves a place in the top 5. Same as Hateful Eight, another western as well. A bit more, the dark humor in that is great, but Django just beats it. I'm not going to give it an out of 10 rating or anything like that, but Django definitely is in my top 5 for Tarantino's films. So yeah, that's my number 5 for that. Number 4 on my list of Tarantino's top 5, in my opinion, definitely got to be with Inglorious Bastards. Now, the thing is with this is that I remember when it came out, I went to the cinemas and watched it, and I was quite blown away. There's not many action sequences, but I think this is probably Tarantino's look, they're all great dialogue. In his films, they're really great screenplays, but I just think something with Inglorious Bastards, there's just so many good scenes with great dialogue. I mean, you can't go past the opening scene with Monsieur Lapadite and Christoph Waltz playing Colonel Hans Lander. It's quite epic, that opening scene, and the way just the tension, how it rises, the editing between them. It's something that it's great for film students to see, and anyone who's interested in film. It's just that the way that dialogue back and forth between him and the way it all builds up to that crescendo is quite amazing. And the throwbacks and the flash forwards and the flashbacks at the end of the film as well, going back to that scene, is really important as well. My other favorite part in that film, is definitely when Shoshana's getting ready for the big premiere of Sola's film, and I think that's a really good part with the editing and the way they use David Bowie's song in there, Cat's Eyes I think it's called. It's fantastic. I really like that sequence. But again, with Inglorious Bastards, you can't go past Brad Pitt's performance as well, the bastards themselves. But I think the ultimate favorite part in the film for me has got to be, for sure, the underground bar scene. It's just fantastic. The dialogue in that, again with the tension, again with how everything rises. It's fantastic. I know I've said that a few times. But my ultimate favorite part in Inglorious Bastards is definitely the underground bar scene with Michael Fassbender and all the undercover Nazi soldiers there, when basically they're playing that, not charades, but they're playing that game, they put the cards on their heads and they've got to work out like celebrity heads kind of thing. And then just the tension that goes from there. It's fantastic the way it's done and the way it's shot and the way it's filmed, and it just leads up typical Tarantino with a shootout. Amazing. Definitely number 4 on my list, Inglorious Bastards. Number 3, well look, maybe a lot of you won't agree with this, but again, hey guys, that's why we're here on YouTube, that's why we're here discussing things. I'm going to put number 3, Kill Bill Volume 2. Yes, a lot of people love Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 obviously, but I think the love out there, I'm hearing that, Kill Bill 1 was the more superior film. They're both fantastic. They're both great. Kill Bill 1, I think, focuses a lot on the action sequences. You've got the crazy 88, and Uma Thurman's performance is fantastic. And you've got, like I was just saying, a lot of action sequences and less character development. I know there's a little bit, but we don't really know we know parts of what's happening in the story, but that's the whole point of Tarantino, you see. It's a two-part film. Obviously, there's two parts to this film. It's like one long film, but I just like Kill Bill 2 because of its superior character development. Find out more about the story, find out more about just the background of Uma Thurman and Daryl Hannah's character. Michael Madsen's in it as well. There's some really, David Carradine, there's some, Bill himself. There's some really good sequences in this. Good character development, how Uma Thurman or the bride gets her training. I just think Kill Bill 2 is quite superior. And then again, with the tension and how it all leads up to when the bride meets Bill at the end. And well, spoilers, we all know what happens there. There's talk of another sequel, Kill Bill 3, which will be very interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with that. But yeah, definitely Kill Bill Volume 2 on my list. Now, controversy, number 2 on my list, and a lot of people will probably put this at number 1, but for me, number 2 in my top 5 Tarantino films is definitely going to be Pulp Fiction. Now, I remember seeing this, back in the day. Obviously, I wasn't allowed to go watch it at the cinema, but managed to get my hands on a VHS back then. And I'll tell you what, even as well, I was 12, 13, yeah, you're probably thinking, wow, you watched this film when you're that age, but I was just that obsessed with Tarantino after I saw Reservoir Dogs. I had to see this somehow. So I managed to get my parents' copy and watch it while they were out, and I'll tell you what, I was pretty impressed, although, it was pretty full on, I must say, and, some of the sequences are a bit full on, obviously that's why I rated R, but looking back at it, it's one of the most quotable films, I think you could say. Some people say that it's overrated. I've got friends that don't like it as well. That's fair enough. That's the whole thing about film, is that not everyone's going to like certain things. A lot of people aren't going to enjoy Pulp Fiction. A lot of people are going to be like, I don't even know what this film's about. It doesn't make sense. It's jumping here and there. The way they use that non-linear narrative structure is really good too. It wasn't the first film to do that. Let's not forget. It gets all these praise. It gets all this praise that it was, oh my god, it's amazing how they changed the story around. It wasn't, but it did put that type of structure on the map, and it definitely put Quentin Tarantino on the map for filmmaking. Pulp Fiction was fantastic. It is number 2 on this list, and my favorite parts of it, well, look, there is so many. I mean, you can go through all the different storylines and pick it. Samuel Jackson as Jules is amazing, and that whole Ezekiel 25:17, you can't get past that scene. One of my favorite parts, definitely with, I love Harvey Keitel, and when the wolf comes in and he cleans up their mess at the end of the film with the boys, Jules and Vince. I think it's fantastic. Just the whole thing with Harvey Keitel, the wolf coming in. It's a great piece of cinema, that whole thing. One of the parts of Pulp Fiction that I really didn't like, which I think the film kind of could have cut out, is when Bruce Willis's character gets in the cab with that cab driver and she asks him what it's like to kill a man. I think that whole 3-4 minute sequence is just, I remember even as a kid watching it, and even now I'm just so bored, and it so could have been cut out. That's my opinion. Everyone's probably got different opinions on that. But yeah, that's one of my parts I really didn't like. But apart from all that, I definitely put Pulp Fiction number 2 on this list. Now, before I get to my number 1 Quentin Tarantino film, in my opinion, of all time, an honorable mention, which wasn't directed by Tarantino, but written by, is definitely True Romance. Now, True Romance, I think, just screams 90s. There's so many great cameos. Christopher Walken's in there, Dennis Hopper's in there, Christian Slater. It screams 90s, Patricia Arquette is in it as well. There's some great scenes in it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you haven't seen True Romance, it is rated R as well, so there's some quite heavy content. Gary Oldman as well, he's another one. I definitely, if that was directed by Tarantino, but it feels like it is in a way, but the dialogue in that and some of the scenes in that are, if anything, it should have been number 1 if it was directed by Tarantino, but it's an honorable mention from me. Definitely go out and see it if you haven't seen it. But my number 1 Tarantino film of all time, to this point, I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet, but yes, you guessed it, I've already done a review on it, you can go watch it. It's Reservoir Dogs. Well, yeah, Reservoir, hey, Mr. Blue, Mr. Pink, Mr. Blonde, Mr. White, Mr. Orange, and Mr. Brown. It's fantastic. Yes, I've said fantastic a million times, but how else am I going to put this perfect film from the opening sequence to all the flashbacks used to that final confrontation at the end with minimal budget, the stories behind how this was made. I know Pulp Fiction put Tarantino on the map, and Hollywood kind of realized the talent behind him, the way he made that film, but I think Reservoir Dogs is Tarantino's greatest film. The jewelry heist, you don't actually see any of the heist, you just see what happens after, and then you're filled in with parts of the backstory on all the characters. It is an amazing film, A+ from me. whatever I gave, I can't remember what I rated it. 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. I'll tell you what, Reservoir Dogs, number 1 on my list for greatest Tarantino film to this point of all time. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment and let me know what you thought about my top 5 Tarantino films. If you agree, disagree, that's the whole point here on YouTube. We're here to interact with each other. I'm here to discuss it with you. So yeah, leave a like, comment, and if you haven't subscribed already and you want to keep up to date with my uploads, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses. Boom!